The Russian Revolution changed life forever. Having replaced the rule by the monarchy, the dawn of socialism promised peace and equality to all. Over the next few modules, you will hear the story of the Russian Revolution. The story of how people decided to get rid of privilege and class division and create a society made up of equals. Before we learn about the revolution itself, it is important for us to understand how socialism came to Europe. The French Revolution during the late 18th century was an important stepping stone for socialism, as it propagated the ideas of freedom and equality. It also gave hope to the people by showing them that it was possible to create a society where people could decide who controlled the economic and social power. These revolutionary ideas spread quickly across all of Europe. Even in India, eminent people like Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Desrosiers discussed the importance of the French Revolution. However, people across the world were divided on the degree of change that needed to be made to society. On a broad scale, these people could be divided into three distinct groups: liberals, radicals, and conservatives. Liberals dreamt of a nation where all religions could be considered equal. They were against giving absolute powers to the monarchy. Instead, they wanted an elected parliamentary government. But on the other hand, they believed that not everyone had the right to vote. Only property owners could be allowed to vote. They did not support the suffragette movements either. Suffragette movements campaigned to give women the right to vote. Radicals too agreed with the liberals on religious tolerance and the removal of the absolute powers from the monarchy. They, however, believed that all people had a right to vote irrespective of whether they were property owners or not. They also supported the right for women to vote. The third group of people, the conservatives, were opposed to change altogether. In time, they realized that some change was inevitable, but they still felt that it needed to be a gradual process. As you can see, the views differed greatly between these three groups. While these debates were going on, change was happening on the economic front too. The Industrial Revolution had started in Britain, and it slowly spread across Europe. It saw the replacement of manual labor with machines, resulting in goods being manufactured at a much faster rate. The Industrial Revolution saw the formation of new cities, development of industrial regions, and the expansion of the railways. As a result, more people went to work in factories. However, the working conditions were quite pitiable. Long work hours coupled with low wages demoralized the workers. Sometimes, the low demand for goods resulted in unemployment too. All this left the workers yearning for change. The solution was to stop the feudal system of privileges enjoyed by the aristocracy. Liberals and radicals rallied around the right of individual freedom, the right of the poor to work, and the right of people having money to operate without restraint. Revolutionaries across Europe, be it in France, Italy, Germany, or Russia, all dreamt about change and worked to overthrow the existing monarchies. As you will see in the modules to come, The Russian Revolution, too, succeeded in enforcing change. The price to pay for it, however, was quite heavy. As you have already seen, the working conditions of people across Europe during the Industrial Revolution were pitiable. This, coupled with low wages, acted as a perfect platform for the advent of socialism. Socialists felt that the private ownership of property was the root of all social evil. Although they agreed that property owners provided jobs, they also felt that owners were not interested in the welfare of the workers. Considering this, socialism propagated the idea of collective ownership of property. Some of the eminent socialist thinkers were Robert Owen, Louis Blanc, Karl Marx, and Friedrich Engels. Robert Owen believed in the idea of cooperatives and tried to build one in Indiana. Louis Blanc, however, felt that an individual could not build a cooperative community. Instead, he pushed for the governments to encourage cooperatives. Karl Marx stated in his book Das Kapital that workers needed to overthrow capitalism and create a society where property was controlled collectively. Friedrich Engels, too, contributed to these thoughts through his book The Communist Manifesto. Though they had minor differences in their ideas, they all agreed that socialism was the natural way forward. As socialist ideas spread across Europe, the socialists formed the Second International to act as a body to coordinate their efforts. It was not until 1914 that socialists finally managed to form a government in Europe. In 1904, over 110,000 workers in St. Petersburg went on strike, demanding better working conditions and wages. Led by Father Gapon, they marched to the Winter Palace, the home of Tsar Nicholas II. The Tsar ordered the dreaded Cossacks to attack the people. Over 100 were killed and many wounded. This incident, referred to as Bloody Sunday, sparked off the Russian Revolution of 1905. So, what led to the revolt by the people? Russia was in those days an autocracy ruled by Tsar Nicholas II. He ruled a vast territory that included current-day countries such as Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, parts of Poland, Ukraine, and Belarus. Both St. Petersburg and Moscow were prominent industrial areas of that time. Most of the industries were privately owned by industrialists. So, although the government had rules regarding minimum wages and limited work hours, in many factories and workshops, these rules were broken. This led to dissatisfaction amongst the workers across Russia. Peasants, too, were unhappy. Comprising more than 85% of the population, they earned their living from agriculture. However, they owned very little land. majority of the land was owned by the nobility, the Tsar and the Orthodox Church. And so peasants pooled their land regularly and divided it based on the needs of individual families. As you can see, both peasants and workers were unhappy across Russia. This saw the advent of two prominent political parties: the Russian Social Democratic Workers' Party, or RSDWP, and the Socialist Revolutionary Party. The RSDWP